down to earth from heaven. Who is God?
Hey, I'm Jeff from followme.org, and I'm glad you've joined me for this week's worship service. Hope you had a great week, and let's get started. This time of the year is a time of uncertainty for a lot of Americans, especially this year. We've got a lot on our plates. Is it the end of the world? Are you and I going to wake up on December 22nd once the Mayan calendar expires? What will Obama's second term look like? Is this fiscal cliff going to crush America? Are we going to be able to come up with a solution fast enough? What about the developing situation in the Middle East with Israel and Iran and Syria on a more local level? Am I going to be able to pay for Christmas presents for my family this year? Am I going to be able to keep my job through the next year? Maybe you're wondering about what's going to happen with a relationship that you're involved with or a big decision that you have to make in 2013. A lot of us have a lot on our plates this Christmas season. But there's a little bit of consolation in this because uncertainty is nothing new for this time of the year. This week we begin our celebration of Advent, the anticipation of Christ coming at Christmas. And as you've learned earlier in this message, this is the first Sunday of the Advent season. And this is all about hope. It's all about certain hope in times of uncertainty. And like I said, this sort of uncertainty is nothing new to the Christmas scene, to the Christmas story, and to Advent. So what was the world like on December 2nd of, I guess we call it year zero, the year that Jesus was born, around the time that Jesus was born? What was on the minds of Jesus' parents and of just the people at that time? Well, it turns out that life was really, really, really uncertain in a lot of ways, in a lot of really important ways. The nation that Jesus lived in was under foreign rule. The Jews, Jesus' family, they lived under captivity of a foreign empire. They were a colony in this massive empire, one of the biggest empires that the world has ever seen. They were a colony without a voice, and the Romans ruled very, very fiercely. They were also in an environment of political turmoil, political uncertainty. In addition to being a colony, their local leadership had started to be turned upside down. Herod the Great, the man appointed to rule over the area of Palestine, was dying, and as he was dying, he was going crazy. He was paranoid about who was going to take over the throne after him, and so he sought to kill anyone who was going to try. A lot of authors have talked about how he attempted to kill members of his own family, and the Bible itself talks about how he begins a campaign of killing all of the babies born around the time of Jesus because his advisors say that this Messiah is coming, and he thinks that there is a military uprising in the works, and so he just reacts to that. And it's a time of political uncertainty, but it's also a time of religious uncertainty and uncertainty in the Jewish religious community. There are deep religious divides amongst Jewish denominations, and they have to face this decision about which direction the Jewish faith is going to move from here. Is it going to be Are Jews going to violently defend their claim to their own land, or is a more kind of progressive approach called for? Maybe that sounds familiar. But there's also this element of uncertainty in that everyone is waiting for the Messiah, waiting for the promised, the promised Redeemer to come for the Jews. The first half of the Bible, the Old Testament, is written to prepare Jews and the world for the coming of God to the earth, for Christmas. It's the promise of God that He will restore all that has been lost. Imagine, however, being a Jew at that time. So many unanswered questions about what this is going to look like. Is the Messiah going to come as a military ruler? Where is He going to come from? Which part of Israel is He going to be coming from? What type of Jew is he going to be? Which religious group is he going to align with? What does he look like? And how will we know when he comes? And they're waiting. Because many people came before who claimed to be the Messiah, but ended up to not be him at all. Their entire faith is built on a promise, on a hope, on a certain hope. And they're waiting for that promise to be fulfilled. And so there's major uncertainty around the time that Jesus is born in this season, like the original Advent. And yet in the midst of this uncertainty of Advent, we celebrate the cause for hope, certain hope in times of uncertainty. Our passage today includes a really encouraging reminder for us in the midst of all of that uncertainty. Luke 21, verse 28 says that, "Now when these things begin to happen, look up and lift your heads, because your redemption draws near." Your redemption draws near. If you are a Christian this morning, you understand what's going on here. A huge part of our faith is hope. Like, that's a foundational idea in the Christian faith. Hope, waiting. In Hebrews chapter 11, there's this verse that, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. There's also this line in Romans 4 that kind of captures the hope that we're called to. In Romans 4, the Apostle Paul is talking about Abraham's journey towards trusting in God. And it says that Abraham, this is huge, contrary to hope, in hope believed, so that he became the father of many nations. Contrary to hope, he believed. God gave Abraham a promise, and Abraham believed. Simple enough process there. Even when there was no reason for Abraham to hope. Certain hope in uncertain times. That's what this season is all about, anticipating the coming of our redemption, of our Redeemer, our rescue by Jesus. And sometimes that anticipation demands hoping contrary to hope. Look up and lift your heads, because your redemption draws near. Today, is there a situation in your life where you are being asked to hope contrary to hope? If you think about your life, is there a situation that seems hopeless? I just encourage you this morning to take heart, because this is a season of hope. Take heart. Look up and lift your heads, because your Redeemer is coming. Would you join me in praying this morning? Dear God, hope is hard enough when you give us reasons to hope, when it's easy to see. But Father, it's almost impossible when there aren't reasons for hope. And Lord, as we study in the coming weeks, as we study the coming of the Messiah, the coming of Jesus, and that redemption, Father, would you just fill us with the hope and anticipation that surrounds that first Advent? God, the situations in our lives where there is no cause for hope, would you just give us a little shot in the arm that we might just lift our heads and know that our Redeemer is coming. Father, you are good, and we celebrate you this Christmas season. Amen. Thank you for listening to this Advent message, and